Hello, and thank you for joining Workgrid session today. Digital Workplace Trends for 2022, Optimizing the Digital Employee Experience. My name is Janine Marchi from Workgrid Software, and I'll be facilitating a great webinar for you all today. Our session will bring you a dynamic webinar featuring three panelists from Workgrid to help share strategy and technology advice for three key drivers for success as we look to keep up with the digital workplace trends and the nature of work. I look forward to introducing you to each of our panelists and sharing with you their insights. We know that over the past 2 years, the pandemic has changed the nature of work, and hybrid work is here to stay. Most workers prefer it, and it is not going back to what was once normal. But it's much more than looking at the nature of work changing, it's actually the nature of employees that have also changed. It's about how employees feel about organizations and what they expect from organizations. The definition of success has changed for employees. Employees are now prioritizing work life balance and mental health over a steady paycheck. In the end, remote work has given people a greater understanding and concern for their own well being. It's safe to say that if there's one thing you should be prioritizing as we head into 2022, it's your organization's digital employee experience program. Because let's face it, for many employees, the digital workplace is the only workplace they have. So, what are the drivers for success? Well, that's why we're here today to share three actions you can get started with today to improve the digital employee experience. Number one is focus. Help employees better manage their attention so they can spend more time on the work that actually matters. Number two is simplify. Eliminate needless digital friction that wastes time and causes frustration. Number three is enable. Empower your business partners to accelerate digital transformation efforts. So for each action, I'm going to be interviewing one of our panelists and we'll go through a strategy perspective and a technology recommendation that you can leverage to help you get started. So, to kick things off, we are going to start with focus. And here joining me is Frank Patyhil, Director of Strategy and Partnership. Hey, Frank.
Hey Janine, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for joining us. When I think about focus, I know there's no doubt employees today are struggling with focus and where to direct their attention at work. And it's likely due to the result of all the new applications and collaboration platforms that we now have. Um, because they're great in isolation, but together it's kind of leading to an overwhelming number of notifications, updates, emails, and messages, all fighting for our attention throughout the day. What are your thoughts on this, Frank?
Yeah, it's a disaster. I've been on the vendor side in these cases, and take a look at this chart. BMC Remedy, Salesforce, and ServiceNow. All of them have tickets and are ticketing systems and can make good arguments for ticketing. That's part of the nature of the problem. All of these companies are getting multiple inroads into organizations attempting to push the same message and say, we're the platform for you. And this is what is the root of the confusion.
Yeah, I think you're right, Frank. And as I look at the slide that we put together for this presentation on the amount of time employees spend working, this isn't really a new problem, is it?
No, I'm pretty sure the first time I saw this slide, it was chiseled on a granite slab. All kidding aside, this is probably 20-year-old stat, and we've been fighting this problem the whole time. And the fact of the matter is that we're just not winning. We win at ServiceNow or at Workday or at Microsoft because they have just the one suite of technology. Everywhere else, it's still technology fighting technology, and therein lies the problem.
So how do you think we approach this from a strategy perspective?
Well, this is the major change after the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, we were really thinking about organizations will make changes and employees will adopt them. The script has flipped. Employees have the power now, and that is the sea change. Now this is really about supporting employees, not the organization sort of demanding things from the employees. Employees are going to decide how they want to work, when they're going to want to work, and how they're going to want to work. And you have to fit the technology that works for them. Individual system decisions, productivity suites, etc. Those decisions are being made by employees, and you need to fit into their technology choices.
That makes sense. And I think as well, though, it's like digitization, it's only going to continue, right? We're only going to have this increase of data and information. So, from a technology standpoint, how do you think employees or organizations can help employees combat the noise?
Well, organizations have to be flexible. Let's try a little bit of an experiment. Janine, you're a millennial. Um, how do you use a phone? Do you make phone calls on it on your cell phone?
Not frequently, and I hope you text me first and then to let me know you want me to answer the phone.
I, on the other hand, need reading glasses, so I prefer to use it as a traditional phone. And therein lies some of the challenge. Different generations, different use cases, different perspectives. We can't be single
Hmm.
case anymore. We need to use technology to filter information because let's face it, information is not going away. It's only going to continue to grow. And this is an accelerating curve. So, take a simple platform like UltiPro. There are 7 different ways to count time and 8 different ways to count time off. It's the overload, even in singular suites, is massive. This is where we need to filter. So employees are going to work the way they want to work. They're going to do the job and then occasionally pop up and say, "Hey, I've got some training, or I got an expense report to take care of, or what was that thing I was looking for?" And then they have to hunt around for 8 different places to find it. And that is the problem that we're calling Yahtzee.
You say Yahtzee? Can you share what Yahtzee stands for?
Yahtzee, not just a board game. Yahtzee is yet another thing to check. Um, so what we need is a system to bring all the information to us that lets us pop our head up from going about doing our what we're doing and say, oh, hey, I've got to go clear an expense report, attend to a training, approve something, and get done. So my time away from task is very efficient and follows me to whatever the system is of work that I choose to work in. Gartner calls this kind of a guided attention strategy.
Thanks, Frank. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think from a technology standpoint, we need to look at the users and how they work. Some users need access to digital tools from a mobile device if they're on the go, while others that spend a lot of time in a tool like Slack or Microsoft Teams, a stream of updates from other applications could be useful. Where some people might still be relying on emails. It really depends on the type of users, and our workforces are more diverse now than ever. Thank you for those insights.
No problems.
All right, the next action is simplify, eliminating needless digital friction. Joining me is Robert Ryan, head of product marketing for Workgrid. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Janine.
So, Rob, when I hear simplify, I can certainly relate to the need to simplify technology. I feel like at work, this technology that's supposed to make our lives easier is actually creating more work and more effort to getting our jobs done.
Yeah, digital friction is a real problem today. I mean, look at some of these stats here. 50% of employees spend their time trying to forage for information, locating, validating, formatting data. And on the flip side, the sentiment end of that, 30% of employees feel that more than half their day is sunk in distracted, repetitive tasks and lower value level of work. And ultimately, this is actually what digital friction is all about. The formal definition from Gartner is the unnecessary effort an employee has to use data and technology for work. This gets in the way of focusing on the right tasks and making the right decisions. But where does digital friction come from, and why does it cripple the employee experience? Well, it's really all around us, and we like to think of it as 3 main pillars. One, application overload. That is the where information and activity is hosted. 2, information overload. That is the what. That's your content, your conversations, activities, interactions, tasks, info. And last, as Frank had mentioned, digital noise pollution. that exponential echo effect of all the signals, chimes, and pings all vying for our attention, trying to bring us back into their system.
Right. So, how do you think these experiences at work have become so cumbersome compared to our experiences in our personal lives?
Yeah, absolutely. As Frank had mentioned, it's because the software ultimately ends up being designed with the vendor to enterprise sale in mind, not necessarily that individual journey of that you oftentimes see in customer experience marketplace and applications.
That makes sense. And I know, Rob, you have a lot of experience working with organizations and helping with digital workplace strategies. What do you recommend for organizations?
Sure. At a high level, I always recommend to my clients, digital workplace leaders, application leads, that they begin by looking broadly across the employee experience as a whole and the employee journey to really understand the reality from the seat from their various employee personas within their organizations.
I think you're right. Getting an understanding of your employees and really understanding what are those areas for improvement from their point of view is going to be critical to the employee experience. Now, I know this process takes time. Any steps on where or how to get started?
Absolutely. Before getting started, there first needs to be that realization that one, digital friction is a problem we are facing, and two, that there actually may be options, both from the strategy side and technology, to reduce that friction throughout the day. Let's take the strategy perspective to begin with. That's understanding really the culture, the personas, the processes, and the technology within your landscape. It starts with understanding what quick wins can be made. What are those top pain points and challenges that employees face as they begin to come into an organization and from a day-to-day perspective. Two would be looking at really modernizing the legacy systems that you have today. That's really looking at the tech stack as a whole. When was it last rationalized? What is being used and for what? How much tech debt has potentially accrued over recent years? And where are employees spending their time and what perhaps is collecting dust and being unmanaged? Third would be looking at really an outcome-driven design that's seeking to design processes based on ultimately employee intent. How do we want to communicate, collaborate, connect, engage? And last would be having a multi-channel delivery, understanding our personas and what touch points our employees wish to connect throughout their day in and day out. On the technology side, there's actually many enterprise apps today that offer some ability to reduce a bit of that digital noise pollution that Frank had mentioned. So reducing notifications, toasts, pop-ups, etc. However, these are oftentimes back-end feature functionality that isn't necessarily highlighted within the deal cycle. Now, that's just simply a quick win and certainly an ingredient into reducing noise and friction. But that first step is really taking that prioritized approach to ensure that you're getting the right information, right notifications, and high priority actions at the right moment in time. And that's really where we come in. At Workgrid, we believe that there's a better way of working, one which starts with the employee. We help organizations unify and simplify the employee experience to help drive greater alignment, communications, actions, and get back to being productive. Let's take a quick look, actually, at digital friction in an example here, ordering a work from home office equipment. We'll take my friend Jessica here. She's been working from home for the last 2 years, 9 to 5, various areas across her home, kitchen table, couch, counter. And her back is killing her. She'd appreciate perhaps an ergonomic chair to ease her day. What might that process look like? Well, perhaps she starts by reaching out to her boss or some colleagues, trying to seek advice. Perhaps they don't know. She might search the archaic intranet for policies, procedures, or perhaps it's undetermined to where it is. She might hit the HR portal, perhaps call into IT, where again, still wasting time trying to find where that is. She might end up circling back to her boss at the end, actually looking to expense a chair on her own. And ultimately, it's time wasted ping-ponging across the various applications, resources, portals, and it frustrates, certainly, our example here of Jessica throughout that. Now, how could there be a better way of managing this process and really attuned to the employee themselves? Perhaps Jessica could easily ask her query to her Workgrid digital assistant. Here, she could ask any number of questions or request assistance on topics like a password reset, or in our example, procuring a work from home office equipment. This could have her pass into a procurement portal or take her order right here, all her needs, and reducing that need to bounce around to various systems. She'd submit a request, and from her manager's perspective, he would receive procurement notification, details, and the ability to approve and reject the request. And once approved, Jessica would receive a notification that her request has been approved by her manager, its update, and when that chair would be delivered. So in the end, we end up saving Jessica hours of wasted time, and even better, the chair costs less than perhaps a chiropractor appointment. So it's just one example out of the infinite number of use cases which can aid in reducing digital friction and optimizing the employee experience.
Thanks, Rob, for sharing those insights, and I really loved that example. All right, last but not least, our third action is enable. Here with me is Linnae Selinga, our Workgrid Senior Product Strategist. Hi, Linnae.
Hey, Janine.
So when I think of digital transformation, I think it's fair to say maybe for a lot of organizations, they've been really reactive when it comes to responding to digital transformation efforts. What are your thoughts here, Linnae?
True, there's a lot going on though. It's a challenge keeping up with digital trends. Just by their nature, they evolve quickly and organically, and especially that's true in the last 2 years. So I think organizations everywhere have an uphill battle to fight just to keep pace with digital transformation, never mind trying to get ahead of it. And then think that transformation doesn't get to happen in a vacuum. So now combine the need for rapid change with related challenges like staff shortages. By 2026, we're predicted to have and compete for 1.2 million job openings for engineers. And meanwhile, we've got 40% of tech budgets are being shifted over to business, even though IT projects are increasing by 30% just to keep the lights on. So it's really no wonder that nearly half of businesses are worried about employee burnout. And then you think about all the tech debt and legacy problems. So it's a lot to maintain the day-to-day and keep up with the pace of change, and then keep the health and wellness and productivity of employees in mind.
That's certainly a lot for IT to manage and overcome. With all this pressure, what type of strategy should organizations take? Any advice you can share to get started?
Yeah, I'd recommend embracing an innovation strategy and organizational change. So if you think about the shift to Agile some years ago, it requires tight bonds between business and IT, small and quick deliveries, iterative changes to drive innovation, and all of those require a different mindset shift and an organizational change for a lot of companies. So that happened in the past, but looking forward now, we're seeing trending towards not just partnerships between business and IT, but actually putting technology and innovation capabilities in the hands of business users. The past 10 to 15 years have really been all about democratizing access to information and content creation. So now, why not problem solving and innovation?
You bring up a valid question and point around problem solving and innovation. I think it's clear if organizations can't reach their potential and keep up with the competition, if they can't innovate, right? So could you speak to this more?
Yeah, I think what organizations can do is decentralize access to the tools that have been traditionally reserved for IT. So more employees can be empowered to innovate and iterate on their own to speed their own digital transformation. And this is becoming increasingly important, not only because of the strain on IT, but the general speed of business demands and rapid change. Now, and if certain segments of employees, they have unique needs, why not put the capabilities in the hands of the people who are closest to the problem? That's not to say that this year's trend is a Wild West free for all that invites shadow IT or a sprawl. We return to strategy and managing and embracing the change needed to drive a culture of innovation and self service that has governance, guardrails, communities designed to support and democratize innovation.
Right. And I love what you said there about putting it in the hands of the people closest to the problem. I think that's really how we can drive forward innovation. So, what type of technology do you think will have the largest opportunity to actually enable this type of strategy?
Well, Gartner has a prediction that in just 2 years, 80% of an org's tech products will have been built by citizen developers and not IT. And that's because of this rapid rise of no code development. This is a trending technology. 75% of businesses will explore at least four no code tools, and it makes it possible for business people who have access to system credentials to drag and drop their way to custom workflows, automations, and other valuable business outcomes. So with the right no-code tools and basic skills, it's fast, flexible, and it makes use of existing tech investments. And 86% of organizations think that they're going to be better off by enabling these citizen developers.
That's great. I see a lot of value in no code, and I know Workgrid as well is planning on releasing no code capabilities later this year. Can you share an example of how no code will work within Workgrid and the impact it will have to build employee experiences with no code?
Yeah, happy to. Let's have a quick look at a no-code capability that we use inside of WorkGrid. All right. So a good no-code tool or even a low-code tool, it'll have an easy-to-use interface with drag and drop functionality, and it should be easy to edit, easy to preview, and easy to test as you go along and build. That's critical for people like me who know what they want but might still need to experiment a little bit. A good tool should provide simple validation and deployment methods, and above all else, it should be fast and give you high value outcomes. So here we are watching this demo at time and a half speed, but you can see how we go from a blank canvas to a system trigger notification right here. In real time, it would be 50 seconds.
Wow, that's really powerful, Linnae. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
I think we all know the world has changed. So if we can take a step back, understand the workday and world as it appears to our employees, remove the digital friction from their day, and provide them the means to do their best work, we can create the digital workplaces that foster the type of employee experience we all want: modern, personalized, and human centric. We hope you enjoyed our session today and walked away with the insights on how to better prepare your digital workplace as you strategize forward this year. Feel free to reach out with any questions. We'd love to help you and your organization.